So this is my next vlog on the healthiest ways to eat an egg. And for this one, I was a little apprehensive, but because, in med school, we're definitely taught that, raw eggs do pose a risk of salmonella, as well as undercooked foods. But, partly when I realized, I probably should just get over it and try it, and the risk is probably rare or very low. Partly why I started realizing probably is more to it than I ever could imagine. In part was because of a movie, and in part because of all the science that I learned. So, let's start with the movie. The movie that really made me think, well, there must be something to this, because it documented some things about an athlete trying to make comebacks and trying to maximize or superiorize his body after his youth, for instance. And that movie is Rocky. So Rocky Balboa, I think there's a scene in there where he makes like a shake or some kind of mixture, and he adds raw eggs. He didn't cook it, and he actually drank it. He did it right on film. So my feeling, or my understanding, my thinking rather, it's really more thinking than feeling on that. My thinking was really that, well, Sylvester Stallone must have really eaten some raw eggs, and I don't think he's a complete idiot, so I would think that, he probably wouldn't do it unless he knew it wouldn't be too risky, or maybe if he was getting paid a lot of money. That's when some people are willing to put caution to the wind when economically they're going to get really, really far ahead. So, I thought about that, and I was like, well, I wouldn't mind trying it. And then the other reason, as I thought about it more and more and kind of just applied all the biology that I learned and the medicine that I learned and what I knew about my body, I was like, it's interesting. When we cook food, we're actually denaturing the proteins of that food. And so in theory, it would seem that it should be healthier to eat natural foods that are not denatured. And that seems like it should really apply to meats and eggs too, even fish. And when you look at other carnivores and omnivores that don't cook their foods, they do just fine and probably do well and probably don't have to eat as much as compared to when the food is heated by fire. So those were some kind of, ideas and thinkings and thoughts that I had as I was preparing to do it for the first time and wondering if I should or not. And then I kind of decided that I should. There were a couple other things. When you watch documentaries of animals in the wild, specifically lions. Lions are probably one of the most documented in this form, or, specifically lions. And watching them attack, they go and attack and kill a gazelle or a zebra or a boar or whatever. And they're obviously, we have some anatomical similarities between humans and other carnivorous animals, and really all animals, but even lions. So there probably is some benefit to raw food. The other clues that raw food is pretty good is obviously sushi. Sushi is probably one of the biggest clues. We eat sushi is usually raw. It has to be prepared in a certain way to make sure that, they don't introduce bacteria or a lot of bacteria or other pathogens. And I used to eat a lot of sushi, so that was another thing. And then there were a couple of other clues that, eating a raw egg probably wouldn't be very harmful. And might actually be very beneficial and even more economical than eating a cooked egg, unless you get some rotted infection, which is, what were the other clues? There was some other clue. Yeah, it seems to be evading my mind right now, but it's somewhere in my cortex, but I just can't capture that idea yet. So, I don't know how long it'll take me to remember that. So, or to recall that. So anyway, but there was something else that I was thinking. Anyway, the point is that, a raw egg is still good for you. There it is. That's one egg. I'm just going to crack it right here and open it. And there it is. You know, it doesn't actually taste too bad either. It is a little different. It does take a little take a little getting used to. But see all that. It actually feels really good once in a while to me. So there's the egg, that's the yolk, and there's the, well, I guess that's, what would be the white of the egg, but it's, I don't know, it has a name. You can look it up on Google, it's not difficult. Just put a Google search, what is the clear fluid of an egg, or the area outside of a yolk of an egg. Anyway, here we go. So there's no reason to rush eating a raw egg either. And it actually does taste really good. I'm not joking. I'm amazed. I was really amazed the first time because I didn't know what to expect. So it's really like drinking something. And if you consider this to be a drink, I'm sure this is one of the healthiest drinks, probably next to water. And maybe one of the reasons why I really like eggnog, because we use raw eggs in eggnog, which is another clue that raw eggs are pretty healthy. But with eggnog, we usually add alcohol, and the alcohol tastes good too, but the alcohol is not very healthy. To me, it seems like there's some equivalency between eating a raw egg and eating a chicken, but it's not really equivalent. The main reason why it's not equivalent is because this egg didn't make it to birth, unfortunately, for that little chicken. And, well, for me it's great, but for that little chicken, if that chicken wanted to live, unfortunately it didn't get to live. But having said that, so the main difference, one of the biggest differences is obviously the chicken didn't live in terms of hatching from its egg and forming a body. And then the other, so it seemed that eating a raw egg should be closer to eating something called like balu that they eat in Philippines, which is like a embryo of a chicken, which it is, but it's still not the exact same because it's gone through some embryogenesis. And then, but I was really comparing between a raw egg and like an adult chicken, like which would give more caloric intake. And it's clear that the adult chicken does. I mean, I'm sure that's been measured many times. But I mean, one of the main reasons is because the adult chicken has lived and eaten and gotten to eat a lot of other things, whereas this little one cell, which, this is really just one cell. Can you believe that? One cell, that is, which is an egg. It hadn't had the chance to take in more nutrition to develop its caloric content. So yeah, but it's still pretty good. Anyway, so there's the little, if you want to see that little white part is like the umbilical cord, I think, kind of thing. It's not really an umbilical cord, but it's like, it would be homologous to that. And there goes the yolk, which tastes really good. Pretty much like a soft-boiled egg. And that's part of the reason why a soft-boiled egg is much more economical and nutritious than a hard-boiled egg. But it does take time to, time the amount of time it takes to prepare a soft-boiled egg, which is usually less than a minute. But anyway, that was good. So that was, pretty much my first meal for the day, because I still haven't eaten that other egg, which I'm going to eat a little bit later once I appreciate and enjoy the benefits of a raw egg for the morning. Well, it's still Captiva. I hope you're all enjoying that. If you're watching it this morning or as soon as it's uploaded. I guess one last point on this video. Captiva, one of the reasons why I wanted to understand sunrise is because sunrise actually is really healthy to kind of wake up early and feels great because the sunlight comes into our eyes. But the problem I had with sunrise is it's kind of a misnomer, because the sun is not really rising. The sun is actually kind of in place, moving with the galaxy or the solar system. But it's the Earth that's rotating, and that's the reason, why we get this phenomenon that people call sunrise, which is captiva, which is kind of what's happening now. The light is, increasing, and that's why I turned the lights off, to show that that's the light, the natural light from the sun, which feels so much better than the electricity. The electricity feels harsh. So what I do in the mornings for captiva, which is, the Earth rotating to a certain point where light now can go across the horizon and enter my pupils, stimulate my neurons via my retina, and be captured in my cortex, in the visual centers specifically, as well as in my memory. And so that is captiva. And I started realizing, there's a lot of benefit to that in the morning, because people who wake up early usually do well and usually enjoy themselves. And in part, there's many reasons, but one factor is because we get to be awakened with the natural light and the gentleness of a soft sunlight early in the morning. So for me, to increase that effect, I usually open my windows and allow those photons to enter my room much more easily. And as a result, those photons find their way into my eyes via my pupils, and into my brain, which helps me to wake up in a much more comfortable and peaceful way. So if you have kids and you really want to expose them to some of the subtle, finer points of living, open up the windows for them in the morning before the sun rise, or just before captiva, and they will start to appreciate that little bit of light that they might not yet completely understand or have the words for yet. They might just not be able to vocalize it yet. That's true for some kids, whereas some kids have no clue what's going on yet. That's also true for other kids. And some adults don't even know what's going on. That's definitely true for a lot of adults. I mean, they know something's happening, but they clearly don't know the words. They don't have the nomenclature. They don't have the vocabulary. They haven't read the books. They haven't found it on Google. They don't even know where to start sometimes. Anyway, but the point is, if you do that for them, they will eventually appreciate it, and they might even want to know, partly because it really has a nice, subtle, but eventually drastic effect once you really understand and feel the effect, or at least once you feel the effect. So yeah, that's captiva. So that's a little additional thing. I'll put it in the heading so that at least people know, if they're looking for this, they can find some stuff about captiva. But anyway, I gotta go. I have some things to do, some work, some stuff to do for Jamway Conglomerate, and for myself, and hopefully, it'll continue to help everybody. So you all take care. Definitely view, like, subscribe, share, comment, contact me if you need to, if you want to, if you need some assistance on anything, tutoring, consulting, mentoring, training specifically for soccer or any other sport, but soccer is really what I focused on. And I can help with training and performance in cognition, intelligence, psychiatry, medicine, surgery, biology, cancer research, and probably just about any other area, but those are what I've really trained in. So definitely contact me if you need to know. And obviously, the other big area that I spent a lot of time understanding, a little haphazardly at first and a little unexpectedly, was race. So I can also, I'm pretty much an expert on race now. So if y'all have any questions about that, feel free to contact me on that too. So yeah, this is, another way to eat a healthy egg, which was raw, a little bit on captiva, and some of my skills and contributions to humanity, at the least.